Once again, I welcome you all to this 148th session of Leadership Talks. As you know, that these leadership talks are being organized by India International Education Council and Schoolology Solutions. India International Education Council is a not-for-profit organization which is working in the field of education. It has collaborators from 12 countries. India International Education Council aims to create a better world through education, building quality centers for elementary education approachable for all kids, finding best educational practices across the globe, and find ways to implement those in Indian institutions. It is also creating more awareness on hygiene and learning disabilities. It publishes a magazine called World Education Review and many other educational reports. It aims to build 100 chapters in different cities by 2022. It will soon open its membership for institutions and individuals. It also imparts training for leaders, teachers, students, and parents. As you all know that so far we have conducted 147 sessions on at this Leadership Talks platform on national education policy. We have received 18,119 registrations, 17,352 questions on national education policy. We have received participation from 7 countries: India, USA, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Nepal, Kuwait, and Russia. From India, we have seen participation from 22 states and 124 cities. We aim to organize minimum 200 sessions. With this, we would be reaching out to 100,000 educators, 20,000 institutions, and 1,000 plus eminent speakers would be joining us, like today's speakers, to share their perspective and thoughts on national education policy. So with this, I would request you all, please join me in welcoming our key speakers for this very special session. Our first key speaker, a very senior education leader, Dilip Kumar sir. Dilip sir is principal with Star Public School, Lumshnong, Meghalaya. Star Public School, Limshnong, formerly it was a CMCL Vidya Bharati school. Dilip sir was born and brought up in Bokaro Steel City. He has done MAd, MPhil English for academic purpose from MIT University and Advanced Language Institute. He has also done HR management program from MIT University. He has been recipient of various prestigious awards and recognitions like Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teacher and Training by MHRD Government of India. He has also received Avantika Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Award. He has also received Effective Principles of 2019, chosen by eminent educational, education today. He started teaching in 1991 from VKV Arunachal Pradesh. He has worked at very prestigious schools like the Assam Valley School, the Lawrence School. He has also worked as an education officer with Darshan Education Foundation, New Delhi. He has also worked as a principal with GD Goenka International School, Mayur School, and Disha College. We welcome you, Dilip sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, sir. I'll come back to you. Our next speaker, another very senior education leader, Dr. Lalita Kothia ji. Lalita ma'am is principal with Hill Grove School, Dehradun, Uttarakhand. She's an educationist, a learning specialist, and a counselor. With an experience of 13 years in the education field, working with so many NGOs for social cause towards the betterment of society. She is the president at Nav Nirman Bharat, Uttarakhand. President at AICPW, All India Council of Progressive Women, advisor at Sports Academy Association of India, education wing head at New India Foundation Jhansi, vice president at Sports Promotion Organization Uttarakhand, education wing head at Wednesday Time Magazine Uttarakhand. She was awarded at national and international level for social work as well as education icon. She was recently awarded at 14th World Education Summit at Delhi for the best speaker. She was also awarded Youngest Principal for the year 2018. She was also awarded Principal of the Month by IUEF magazine, awarded at Shri Nari Shakti Saman Samaro 2019 at Madhuban Hotel, Dehradun. She was also awarded as Best Edupreneur during COVID period for providing regular education by International United Education Fraternity at Lucknow. We welcome you, Lalita ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next speaker, Uma Mudgalji. Uma ma'am is former principal with the CRPF Public School, Rohini, Delhi. She is a senior education leader with decades of experience in education. She is a qualified MPhil in education, MSc Zoology. She was felicitated by Honorable President of India, then Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, for guiding students in biology project. She has also received the prestigious National Teachers Award in 2011. She was also felicitated by Honorable Srimati Sheila Dikshit ji, the then Chief Minister of Delhi. She was also honored with an appreciation certificate for rendering services for the welfare of martyrs Ward by Director General CRPF. She has authored several science activities books. She also qualified the exam for NABET, National Accreditation Board of Education and Training, conducted by Quality Council of India. We welcome you, ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome, ma'am. Our next speaker, Dr. Abhay Chaube ji. Dr. Chaube is Associate Professor with SRM University. He did his doctorate of philosophy from National Institute of Technology, Patna, Bihar. His area of interest covers a composite structure, finite element methods, strength of material, theory of elasticity, reinforced cement concrete, design and analysis of structure. He has been published 13 times in national and international journals. He has also attended 7 international level conferences on technology. We welcome you, Abhay ji. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, sir.
And our last key speaker for this very special session, a very senior EdTech leader, Jaswinder Singh ji. Jaswinder ji is founder and CEO of Wordsworth EAD. Jaswinder sir has an experience of 30 years in the field of education and technology and has also served as a consultant to UNESCO and education. Wordsworth English Lab is designed for India and is highly research initiative of ACT UNIP Group. It is a trusted education company with 2 decades of service in technology, education and training. Its expertise in technology, multimedia and content development has been instrumental in presenting a world-class language lab solution for academia in India. In a short span of time, Wordsworth English Language Lab has managed considerable recognition across the country for its unique content and methodology. Over 3,000 installations in institutions across the country stand testimony of the quality in product, implementation, training, and the continual service provided by the ACT UNIP and its committed network of dealers. We welcome you, Jaswinder sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, Raju.
Welcome, sir. With this, I again thank you all for participating. We come to the next part of the session, which is the opening remark part. I would invite all of the speakers for their opening remark. So I would first request Dilip sir, sir, if you can have 1 minute opening remark.
Good morning and thank you very much, World Education Review, for this wonderful opportunity to interact with brilliant minds, teachers across the globe. Initially, I will start with a concept in Indian culture, Tilottama. There is a word called Tilottama, and the word originates from Til Bhar. So what Brahmaji wanted to create a beautiful structure, so he collected a small amount of beauty from each and every part, and then he could create Tilottama. So when I see that national education policy, I find it a real Tilottama from all aspects, from pre-primary to higher education. My only worry is from its implementation part. I usually say that there is a need to talk teacher first. So in our Indian cultural concept, you have seen that the guru, how he is projected. So this new education policy not only ensures the beauty of all the educational system of the world, at the same time there is a thrust on India. So from my prospect, I to come up. Once NCF is there, then we will go for its implementation part. What has happened? 2-3 things which I want to highlight here. Initially, when we were thinking that okay, we were restricted with combination of subjects or streams. you are in arts, science, or commerce. And we started treating differently also, that if you are from science stream and you are from commerce stream, so that here this has changed. And mother tongue, education in mother tongue and learning starts with the mother tongue from the beginning. If you see, that importance is also there. So from pre-primary to top, there is revolutionary change which is going to take place. And what I can see, that the people who all envisioned this national education policy, they are not thinking today, they are thinking more. Their foresightness has come in this national education policy. When we were a student, that time we were not having all the gadgets and online, but now some people, they started thinking from this prospect. So always we have to think out of the box, creative thinking, and education at par with the international standards. Education which enables you, which empowers you, that is there in this education policy. Only thing is, when we go for the implementation part, I am not very sure how
Right.
are we going to accept it, because most of us at times, it is very difficult to believe that if you have not done physics, chemistry, and mathematics, how you can be an engineer.
Absolutely. Dilip sir, it's just an opening remark part. I would be coming back to you for your detailed perspective. So, please, I would request if you can conclude your opening remark.
Yes. So my thing is, it is very good initiative. It's a wonderful combination. Only thing is, from the implementation part, are we ready to come out from the tunnel vision? Are our parents, teachers, broader community will accept these changes wholeheartedly? Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So big thanks, Dilip sir, and we all agree with you that this policy has at least something for all the aspects. It has covered all the aspects in education, be it school education, primary, higher education, vocational training. It has also created a way or link between school education, higher education, and industry. So big thanks, Dilip sir, for your opening remark. I would be coming back to you for your detailed perspective. And now I would request Dr. Lalita Kochia ma'am, ma'am, if we have your presence, so can we have your opening remark? Lalita ma'am, do we have your presence? I believe Lalita ma'am is yet to join. So I would now request Uma Muddal ma'am, ma'am, if we can have your opening remark.
Yes, thank you, sir. As far as National Education Policy 2020 is concerned, I'll say that it is a long-awaited policy. It's an amazing initiative for the Indian education system. The policy is bold, comprehensive, and forms a clear mental picture of an educational system in India on a large scale. I'm sure that it will bring transformational reforms in school and higher education if implemented at a serious note. Now, I'm going to talk about in my presentation specifically vocational education. Vocational education has been given very special recognition in this policy. So, I congratulate the Ministry of Education for undertaking this mammoth exercise. So I conclude that Education Policy 2020 ensures inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all by 2030. Such a lofty goal will require the entire education system to be reconfigured to support and foster learning. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, Uma ma'am. I'll come back to you for your detailed perspective. I am told that Lalita ma'am has joined us. So Lalita ma'am, do we have your presence? Lalita ma'am, are you in the session? Do we have your presence here? Jaswinder sir, yeah.
Yes, hello, good morning to all. Yes, Amen.
Yes, welcome, Lalita ma'am. So, if you can have your opening remarks, Lalita ma'am.
Just, I need few seconds if you allow me because there
No
is a
problem.
network issue and it just makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. We'll come back to you. Now, I would request
Can I
Dr.
have
Chaubey or Abhay ji, if we can have your remark. Abhay ji. So you're not audible, Abhay ji. Abhay ji, there is some issue with your device. So I would request if you can quickly log out and log in. That would help. Meanwhile, I would request Jaswinder sir, sir, if you can have your opening remark.
Thank you, Rajuji, and good morning, all the participants. It's an honor to be with all of you here, people from different parts of the country. I come from the EdTech background where we talk about education and technology and basically working towards language development. So my first point here is that, when we talk about NEP 2020, this is a disruptive policy, disruption to the positive side, working towards the India becoming a strong force, what it was earlier. So a lot of changes. I'm going to talk about how are we going to use technology to achieve these desired goals. And second is the kind of, language part which we're talking about. Dilip Kumar sir did talk about the mother tongue. I'm going to talk about how this is to be taken up. This is a welcome step. How are we going to cater to language requirements? Because language is the most important learning that a child has. It is not only a subject we talk as a skill, and what we are trying to do is create a self-reliant country which is supporting the entire world. So we'll have to look at a lot of aspects when it comes to language learning. So my total focus is going to be on technology-driven learning and language enhancement. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jaswinder sir. Now I would request Lalita ma'am, if you can have your opening remark.
A very good morning to all of you. Am I audible to everyone?
You're audible, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So thank you so much for calling me on this great platform. Regarding the NEP, we all are talking about that how the NEP 220 is going to be done or going to be executed. The government has given us a very good point and very eligible point for the development of children. But we all educators actually need to implement them from our own behalf. This is my main to share with you all. That we are not supposed to wait for anyone that government will allow us and the government will give us the protocol to follow the NEP 220. But we ourselves will start from our side and we will give these beautiful opportunities to our children, like vocational courses after 6 months, and the platform, the options the government has given to us, the criteria the government has given to us. We all know about NEP now in a very broad way. We are reading articles daily and we are getting informations regarding NEP daily. But how much we are preparing ourselves for implementing that is the main issue, the main point with all the educators, with all the leaders. So I request you all, we can come together and we can make strategies from our own behalf and we will try to implement it from this session. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lalita ma'am. Certainly, we need a collaborative approach in order to execute this policy successfully. Big thanks for joining. I'll come back to you for your detailed perspective. And
Sure.
Just would like to check if Dr. Abhay has joined us back. Dr. Chaubey, have you joined us back?
Yes, sir. There was a connection issue.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So
good
Abhay,
morning.
You can have your opening remark.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk about implementation of new education policy in higher education. Okay, thank you. We'll come to the main talk.
Right. Thank you, Abhay. So big thanks once again to all the key speakers for your opening remark. With this, we come to the next part of the session, which is the main talk part. I would be inviting again our key speakers. So all these speakers will get 8 to 10 minutes for the detailed perspective. But before I invite our first speaker, I must share the learnings which we have had during our last 147 sessions. During our last 147 sessions, almost every participant shared that this is a wonderful document. What Dilip sir said. Almost same number of participants also shared that this is going to be very, very challenging in terms of execution, which Dilip sir also said. So, everyone believes that this has a huge potential. It has a potential to place India at that coveted position of Vishwa Gyan Guru. But execution is going to be challenging, and we need a collaborative approach, which Lalita ma'am said that we need to come together. We need to find a collaborative approach. A lot of people said that finance is going to be a key concern area. Many believe that teachers training is a great concern area. A lot of people who participated shared, yes, teachers training is a big concern area, but the bigger concern is lack of intent among teachers to get trained. A lot of people also said that good schools in urban areas already implementing many of these ideas. So the biggest challenge would be for rural schools, budget schools, and government schools. Many people also shared their assessment that this pandemic has exposed the poor distribution of digital infrastructure in our country. So that is going to be another big challenge. So I would request you all our key speakers, that while sharing your perspective, if you can also suggest, or share some ideas, some best practice which you have been, implementing in your school or in your institution. So that would help. That would help us in learning from each other and would make this session more useful for all of us. So with this, I would invite our first speaker, and I also request you all that please keep the time limit in mind, 8 to 10 minutes, so that we have sufficient time in the end for the questions. So with this, I would request and invite our first key speaker, Dilip Kumar sir. Dilip sir, over to you.
Thank you, sir, once again. So language and technology part we will hear from Jasminder sir. Higher education prospect we will hear from Abhay sir. So what I am going to talk here in new education policy, you have summed up that everything has come out. But my slogan is that we need to talk, we need to focus in one area where teacher first. So this slogan, okay, some teacher, whether they want to be trained or not, whether they want to come to this profession or not, that is another question. And this has happened because we have forgotten the mool mantra of Indian culture, Acharya Devo Bhava. We equate Acharya, teachers, as God. So the first thing, and which Acharya? I will give you some example from the pre-primary. For me, the teacher in pre-primary is as important as a teacher teaching at higher level. So when the child in 3 year, 4 year or 5 year, they come to school, and one child has drawn, he used to speak in Telugu, and you see, this is a place where we speak Hindi, English and Khasi. We are in Meghalaya. So the child used to speak in Telugu, and whenever he was talking, whenever I used to go to his class, he will talk something which I was unable to understand. One day, the teacher, pre-primary teacher, she explained me about one picture he has drawn. And in that picture, it was full of ideas. He talked and explained in each and every thing that, you see, his thinking level was really appreciable. And I admire still the teacher in that level, and the child who was talking to me in a language different, but the ideas are, he is full of ideas. So this level, the teacher who starts, who initiates in the school education. My first salutation to the teachers who all are working in the field of pre-primary. I call teacher first. So this pre-primary, and when the children come, the best part, what the new education policy talks about, that children will not have a fear. They will be happy to come to school. They will like visiting school. It is not like that they don't want to come to school and then everybody is. So you have to create an environment and atmosphere in the school where child happily wants to come and enjoy. So this is the concept of happy school. This is the concept of learning through activities and the language aspect. I told you that the child speaks Telugu, but he has full of ideas, and the teacher at that level works very hard. So we need to appreciate, we need to recognize, we need to take in consideration of the teacher who initiate these children in the initial years. So this is the first thing, and the new education policy gives us ample opportunity for that. The second aspect is what I was talking. You see, this policy came, it's a wonderful policy, but came in very different time and difficult time, or you can say challenging time, which we are not talking. These private schools or public school cater the need of maximum students. There are government schools, and these public schools and private schools, due to COVID, we try to find out new ways, we try to learn new technologies. We were not aware of certain software, and we started today like we are having interaction. 1 year before, it was not the normal. We were trying that, okay, you should be Microsoft school, you should use Google in the classroom. We were talking, but very less percentage. Now the scenario has changed, but for this, required infrastructure is not available everywhere. Those challenges for the required infrastructure and proper funding through national education policy is also required without discriminating private and public or private and government schools. Then third thing was the teacher, due to COVID, due to challenging time, they lost job. Nobody is talking about. Many schools were closed. Nobody is talking about. Is there any area where we start recognizing these teachers that you will also have the similar social security under this new education policy as we get new wage code? Can we get something from? So my first thing is recognize the teacher from the since its inception, beginning level. Second thing is don't discriminate in public and private schools. You share the infrastructure and resources equally. Ensure to stand with teachers of your country without any discrimination. Then the third thing is what is happening. Very good thing is happening if it happens. When I was in Raipur, I encountered a serious problem of many parents and students approaching to us for a dummy admission. I asked, what is dummy admission? They say that you take admission here and my child will not come to school. Then I told, why you need this admission? No, the child will be in quota, and he or she will come for only for the examination formality. Child will not have hands-on experience, he will not do any practicals. And this was going on. There was a very big nexus, big group, educators, people from higher section, middle section, everybody wants to send them to one destination. So this new education policy, if it ensures there is no stream, that credit must go to the people who has this vision. Then the third thing, when AICT comes, Abhayji will talk about higher education. When AICT comes up that yes, you can do engineering without physics. There is a huge cry. People start, how can you do engineering without physics? Like earlier, people used to talk, how can you do architecture without physics, chemistry, and mathematics? Whereas architecture is not only physics, chemistry, mathematics. It doesn't talk about a structure, it talk about history. It talk about art. It talk about culture. And if a child who does international baccalaureate diploma without physics and he can do engineering or any other subject, why can't Indian student, if he or she has aptitude? And then when they join in higher education, certificate, diploma, degree, and research, that 4 year, and then option to leave and then rejoin. So they discussed. And this vocational making them strong for the future, enabling them. Like most of us, we talk about what will education give, whether it will give only degree or it will make you to face the challenges. Many people are involved in the, if you know the some share market, if you have done the research, if you study, then you can earn good amount of money. There is a lot of things they are talking about crypto, Bitcoin. So why don't you prepare them for these practical skills? Why can't we make the coming generation financially literate to face the challenges in difficult times? So hopefully this education policy, if implemented in true sense and accepted by a wider community, this will be a boon and revolutionary change in our Indian education system. And I must congratulate the bill of the government who has brought, though there are many criticism, there are many apprehensions, but yes, I also want to tell you that bring some special practices you told, something which is called looking within. Sometime, give some time, start the day when we can have some meditation session. There is a very good thing, you know, for assessment, they say that, okay, the child of your class will assess you. So you know that, okay, this child is going to assess me. The assessment also, very beautiful thing it has come in this national education policy. So I will close my remark again by saying the slogan is teacher first. Then the second thing is recognize teacher at all level and make them, prepare them to face the real challenges of the world. In that point, the vocational education, financial literacy, and for peace and harmony, spiritual education will help and enable us. But in the nutshell, Acharya Devo Bhava. Again, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheswara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. I salute all the teachers who all are involved in this noble cause and great work. With this, I conclude, and I welcome questions from all of you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Dilip sir, for this wonderful talk, for these useful points. You began by saying, and you also ended at that note that teacher first should be our approach. Our entire education system should be teacher centric, and you also especially lauded teachers who are working in those pre-primary section. They are playing the most important role, and this policy also appears to have recognized that role. When it says it puts special attention to the ECC part. You also shared the layout of the happy schools and why we need to, move towards that objective. You also talked about that we must stop the discrimination between private and public schools. We must share the resources and we must adopt a collaborative approach. You also talked about, the problem of dummy admission. You shared your experience in Raipur there. And then you also talked about why we need to teach our kids the practical 21st century skills rather than just the conventional syllabus, which may not need it, which may not required by them in their life. And you also talked about the importance of spiritual harmony in the end. And then at the end, you also talked, you ended at that note that we must adopt the teacher first approach. So big thanks, Dilip sir, for your wonderful talk. I would come back to you with questions. Thank you, sir. Now, I would invite Uma Mudgal ma'am. Uma ma'am, if we can have your thoughts, your perspective in detail.
Thank you, sir. Sir, as I said that I'm going to talk about specifically a topic on vocational courses and vocational education, which has been a gray area in the education system. Actually, most of these schools, CBSE affiliated schools and private and government aided other schools, they are not adopting vocational courses. Even after 2013, this has been, vocational courses has been implemented, but reality is something different. So what are vocational courses? Actually, vocational courses are usually aimed at equipping students with practical skills for a specific profession or field. These courses are tailor-made to make students completely job ready. These courses are often aimed at a specialized career and designed in a manner so as to help them upgrade their skills. There are few challenges for opting vocational courses and giving opportunities to the students by different schools. Majorly, the educational policy issues involve the following questions regarding vocational courses. What should be taught and who decides this? At what age it is appropriate to introduce in school? Because vocational courses we can't introduce at the primary stage. So even if we introduce at the middle school stage or secondary stage, so this is a big challenge. Next is whether outsourcing of teaching faculty. This is also a big question. Who will teach? If we introduce vocational courses in the school, who will teach? And who will be responsible for the delivery of education? What are the standards for measuring success? In previous year, the data says that 11 lakh of students appeared for CBSE examination in class 12. I'm talking of one of the year, where in vocational courses, only 150 students enrolled in some courses like retail services, health center management, integrated transport operations, confectionery courses, etc. The most favorable courses the students opted were mass media studies, stenography in English, entrepreneurship, database management application, web application. Around 16,000 students, they enrolled in these courses. So I can say around 1.5% of total enrollment was done by the students for vocational courses in CBSE examination for class 12. So that is why I said that vocational courses in education system is a gray area. We have to give a big thought. Now, suppose if I compare vocational education received in the age group of 19 to 24 in different countries like US, it is 52%. Germany, it is 75%. South Korea, 96% of the students, they like to join vocational courses. In India, it is less than 5%. These numbers only underline the urgency of the need to hasten the spread of vocational education in India. Most of the 18,000 CBSE affiliated schools in our country don't offer any vocational courses at all. There are some limitations. What they say, there are no takers for the vocational courses. That is why we don't offer vocational courses in class 12. Also, Delhi University either doesn't accept these courses after class 12 or doesn't offer such courses in graduation. So on one hand, CBSE and NCERT is writing books on vocational courses. CBSE is introducing these courses. On the other hand, the CBSE schools, affiliated schools, are not offering these courses because there are many reasons. Suppose if I compare traditional courses with vocational courses. Today, education system in India is that it doesn't provide a relevant job. Even fetching 90% marks may not guarantee a decent job in near future. Even then, higher education for majority of people in our country is highly reputable, like engineering, medicine, degree courses in BA, BSc, BCom degree. People, they think that doesn't matter. Let us go for degree course BA without giving thought that what will they do after this degree course. Again, after finishing 3 years degree course, there is a big question mark in front of them. What next? So it's a common belief that if a student select one of these courses can get a good job and life will be all good. But in reality, traditional courses has increased over the years the number of unemployment with sky high cutoffs and cutthroat competitions. Many students aren't able to even get themselves enrolled in these traditional courses. But even then, we all are excited to opt for these traditional courses. I cite an example. Suppose there is a mechanical engineer working in a reputed organization, cannot repair his or her car, but a skilled mechanic can do without any degree, without any qualification and education. The status wise engineer without a job, with less earning, has a special recognition as compared to the mechanic. The engineer says, I am qualified degree holder. So on the other hand, vocational courses also has some limitations, like they offer diplomas, not the degrees. Though new education policy has given a very serious thought and has really improved a lot as far as the vocational courses are concerned. That is why I appreciate the efforts put by NEP 2020. Although the students get a blue collar job by offering vocational courses, it limits their professional growth prospects. Because as I said that after doing their 12 class courses, it is not easy to get them higher education courses in colleges. But even then, there are some advantages of pursuing a vocational courses. First is they come out with job ready. Dual benefit of traditional knowledge and vocational skills. That gives a specialized knowledge of vocational skill in a particular field. Give the realistic insight of the industry for which the training is given. Practical knowledge in global market. Short courses, these are less expensive and aimed at the needs of the industry. And these are very convenient and easy learning process. There is a rush, overcrowding. As far as the traditional courses are concerned, lakhs and lakhs of students are appearing in all these competitions like medicine, like engineering, like chartered accountancy and all. But vocational courses, there are more opportunities, I can say. One of the leading newspaper mentioned the main reason for fewer students opting for vocational subjects is to do with the mindset of people. This is one of the very common problem. As I said, mechanical engineer and a mechanic, this is mindset. Vocational courses are considered as meant for below average students. Another very important reason why the vocational courses are considered low graded, degraded, I can say. Also, when vocational courses were introduced years back, they didn't come with proper planning as such. And provision for proper labs were not there, instructors were not available, and there was some problem with the hands-on practices given to the students. So the students suffered. But the current policy 2020 has removed those lacuna and more jobs are being created. The new policy is working more to appoint skilled, trained instructors. New education policy also has clearly stated that there should be no hard separation between curricular, co-curricular courses, extracurricular academic courses, academic and vocational courses. As Dilip sir also said that engineer, it is not necessary that engineer should only do physics, mathematics, any subject, any course he can select. I have seen people who are doing medicine and they are good at in instrument playing. They are wonderful sports person. I have seen in my school, the students, they are good at like in professional courses and they are playing. They are trained in specific different skills. Now, earlier vocational courses were not popular. I think many of the people, many of the schools, principals, teachers, even the parents, they were not knowing what are vocational courses. They only knew that 5 subjects means English, Hindi, maths, social sciences, enough. That is the only course. But now the new education policy has put tremendous efforts. Right from middle school, class 6 onward, student can opt one of the skilled subject as one of the additional subject. I'm going to talk later on this issue. So earlier vocational courses were not popular. Why? Lack of proper guidance, as I said, provided to the students and parents. Missing link between school education and higher education. This was a I can say the most important reason. There is no link between ITIs and higher education. There is no link between the school education and the ITIs. What courses ITIs are offering, how many, as a principal of the school, as a teacher of the school, I can say I worked for 35 years. I hardly find that the parents are interested to attend those workshops where we are inviting the people from ITIs or from other industries. They think if we say that yes, we are inviting somebody who is going to give you coaching for medicine and engineering and chartered accountancy and all, there's a great rush. People want to attend those workshops. So that is why I said there is a missing link. Students passing out with vocational subjects often did not have well-defined pathways to continue with their chosen vocations in higher education. Missing link between school education and higher education. The admission criteria for higher education were also not designed to provide openings to students who had vocational education qualifications, leaving them in the mist. This led to a complete lack of vertical mobility for students from vocational education stream. How to make vocational courses more popular? As I said, workshops and orientation programs for the teachers, for the parent and the student. Education Policy 2020 has clearly mentioned the courses, the books available. CBSE has given very categorically given the curriculum for all vocational courses, but this is the responsibility of the teachers, of the institutions, of the principal, of the manager of the school, that such information should percolate to the teachers, parents, and students. Now, how vocational education is offered to students as per National Education Policy 2020 is a serious concern that can only be dealt by a complete reimagination of NEP 2020. I request the institutions, the HOS, the head of the institutions, that kindly go through this specific area of vocational education. What are the courses? How can we implement this into our school? So beginning with vocational exposure at early ages in middle and secondary school. Don't think that the child at the age of 10 to 13 only needs to study main subjects. No, that is, of course, out of 5 subjects, if one subject also is offered to the child for vocational courses, will be good. The development of vocational capacities will go hand in hand with the development of academic and other capacities. That is why I said there should not be any demarcation between the vocational courses, and the child should not think that I'm doing physics or maths. This is the main subject, vocational course. If there is 2 periods in a class, then the parents say, don't go. It's your like work experience and this, and please, this is my request to all the people associated with the education system.
Right.
So it requires integration of vocational education program into mainstream, and policy aims to overcome the social status hierarchy associated with the people.
Right. Uma ma'am, I would, it's a, I would say it's a very, very learning, process, and you have explained the need of vocational education, how we can execute it properly in a wonderful way. But we have a time limit, so I would request if we can conclude in 30 more seconds.
Sir, do I conclude?
Yeah, please, ma'am.
Okay. Only in very limited words, I would like to conclude. Now, there are availability of ITIs, Industrial Training Institution in India, around 13,348 ITIs are available, which are providing 126 trades of vocational courses. So the best way to grab the chances of availing vocational courses is to coordinate with ITIs. And my suggestion is that my suggestions to head of the institutions is to invite the educators from different ITIs and NGOs, collaborate with higher education institutions, and tell the student that what are the challenges they have faced and they can face, and how can these challenges be overcome. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Uma ma'am. And this was absolutely amazing talk. And you spoke like a huge authority on vocational education. And so I was a bit confused during your talk whether you were the principal with CRPF school or some vocational university, because you had the detailed understanding of that domain. So you while beginning you started with that figure that in India we have less than 5% students who go for those vocational courses. And in the next part of your talk, you explain why that is so. Why we have less number of students. Many schools don't offer those programs. You also talked about that. Where academic excellence alone cannot ensure a professional success for those kids. So we need to popularize these vocational programs. You also talked about various limitations, be it like the diploma certificate we get with vocational programs that is not being seen in a good sense with the masses. You also talked about, and you gave the example of Delhi University, which does not recognize these vocational courses as a formal subjects, and also some other universities also do that. And you also shared a lot of advantages, with these vocational programs, be it they are less expensive, less competition. They can certainly, come with a higher, I would say, a degree of guarantee of job security and professional success. And then you also talked about the mindset of people, which don't see these vocational programs in a, in a good sense. You also talked about that poor planning is also responsible. While like when these vocational courses were introduced, so the poor planning at that time is also responsible for the current poor status of these courses. And then you also talked about this NEP is giving us a way. It is giving us a strong hope. When it says that there is no hard separation between curricular and co-curriculum, programs. And you also talked about that missing link, between missing link to connect those students who opt for these vocational programs at school level, and then they go to higher education. So that NEP is giving us a way to find that missing link. And then you called upon all the educators that we need to put in concerted efforts to popularize these vocational programs, vocational courses. And then you called upon all the school leaders that we must invite all the ITIs, all the these kind of experts to have a talk with our students, parents. So we need a collaborative and concerted effort. So big thanks, Uma Mutkal ma'am, and we would certainly invite you on a dedicated program on vocational education.
Thank you.
That big thanks for joining. I would come back to you with questions. Thank you, ma'am. And now I would invite Lalita ma'am. Ma'am, if you can have your detailed perspective, Lalita ma'am. Lalita Kotia ji, do we have your presence, Lalita ma'am? Ma'am, you are on mute. Okay, I would now request Dr. Abhay Chaube. Abhay ji, if we can have your perspective, your thought. Dr. Abhay, do we have your presence? I would request Jaswinder sir, if we can have your perspective.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. I would want to start with 2 points. One in relation to what Dilip Kumar ji said, and the other with Uma Mudgal ma'am. Dilip Kumar sir, there's something very, very important that you talked about of, the new normal. We are talking about the new normal is a blend of using instructor-led teaching and technology-based teaching. We all need to understand that is going to come up, and that's what my point is going to be soon after this. So that's very, very important, that technology integration as a part of education. This is not only to bring in technology but also to reach out to the entire country, because you talked about resources, you talked about money and all that, but I think technology is the cheapest way to reach out to this thing. So that is one thing that I'm going to take it up. Uma ma'am, you did talk about vocational training, very close to my heart. Ma'am, if we bring in dignity of labor, majority of this problem of the mindset would be taken care of. The problem with our country is the unch and the niche, the dignity of labor. वेरी फ्रैंकली, आप एक इंजीनियर मांगोगे 4 मिल जाएंगे, एक डॉक्टर मांगोगे 3 मिल जाएंगे, एक प्लम्बर मांगो तो नहीं मिलता. एक मैकेनिक अर्न्स मोर देन अ मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर, एक प्लम्बर अर्न्स मोर देन अ, I don't know who to say. So ma'am, around 2 years back, Haryana government came up with Vishwakarma Skill University, and they have done a beautiful job. I was connected with them on a language program. What they have done is, उनका कैंपस अभी है ही नहीं, 2 साल हो गए उनका कैंपस ही नहीं बना, and maximum number of students placed by any university is them. उन्होंने क्या किया, they have tied up with Maruti for mechanical courses. The classes are held inside the Maruti Udyog. Out of the 6-hour day, 2 hours are theory and 4 hours are practical. And the kids are guaranteed jobs in Maruti. Maruti बोलता है एक नहीं 10 दे दो. Similarly, they're doing a lot of that. So if you get chance to go visit their website, excellent work. So what you said is very, very right. Germany, why is it mechanically so strong? हम थियोरेटिकल कंसेप्ट पे आके रुक जाते हैं इंजीनियरिंग वाले, and practical वालों को हम वैल्यू नहीं देते. So this is something that we really, really need to know. Get in the right kind of dignity of labor. NEP 2020 is saying that if you do a vocational course, if you do ITI, you can spend 1 more year and get a degree. Okay, I am from a state by the name of Gujarat, jahan pe from the last 4-5 years, you can do a diploma, and post diploma, you do 1 year course, you become a degree holder. So you have a diploma and a degree. You do an ITI, you do 2 years, and then you become an engineer also. So all those things are important. They have already started doing, so that's great. Okay, now coming into my point. Dilip sir, you started with teachers. I will also start with teachers. The teachers of today are the people who will make NEP possible. But the main point is NEP brings in such a lot of change that these teachers need to be trained. And the major challenge is, how do we train 14 million teachers in a year? It is next to impossible with the kind of infrastructure that we have. So my suggestion is that we start training these teachers first on IT skills, simple IT skills of how to use IT tools to get the right kind of information from the whole, so the huge repository of information that is available on the internet. How to go look for something, how to filter it, how to find out what is correct, what is not. That's something that we need to do. Once these teachers are able to do it, they will be able to perform better, and they will be able to learn on their own. You can't go around teaching 14 million teachers some 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 courses. So what we need to do is, if we are saying that we have to teach our students how to think, first let's teach our teachers how to think of how will they get to that level 1. If that is taken care of, a lot will be done. I'll tell you why. Because today's teacher will never be able to cope up with the speed or the pace of today's learner. Today's learner has such a lot of information at his or her fingertips that today's teacher is lost. There's a statement that we teachers are technology migrants and students are technology residents. They were born with the mobile in hand. A lot of time we think a 6-month-old child is watching pictures this way. How does he get to know this? Because for him it is nothing new. That is what we need to do. We need to train our teachers to become facilitators from a sage on the stage. कि मैंने आके मेरी चीज बता दी, बाकी आपका बात. No. Today's teachers will become a learner along with the child, with the learners, and tell them, chalo, let's learn together. That is what is going to bring in. In fact, Chanakya is one of the greatest teachers of all times. And you know what he said? Who is a good teacher? A good teacher is a person who lets the learner know that I know as much as you know, let's learn together. That will bring in things. For that, we have to go down to the child's level and also understand what he understands, how he understands. So technology will play a great role here. I've been giving this example. I would like to give this example again. Normally what we do, if I have to teach volcanoes, I'll go to the class, start talking about volcanoes, give my download, let the teachers, students take the notes, read their textbook, and 10 questions usko mark karke they'll come next day. No, let's do the flip classroom. Instead of what I'm going to teach today, I say tomorrow I'm going to talk about volcanoes, and I want each one of you to get me 10 lines on volcanoes. Come with the presentation. What will the child do? Straight go home, Google. Very simple. But the problem with Google is that the child will not be able to get 10 lines. He or she will get 10,000 lines. Now the point is, out of these 10,000 lines, which 10 lines do I pick up? So they understand how to do research in a small format. Find out what is relevant to him or his class. And next day, each child comes and gives a presentation. So what will happen is, the child gets up and talks about what he has gathered. So presentation skills, right? He makes a presentation, but that is important. Second, communication skills. He should have the guts to get up and put forward his points. Third, he has to listen to others and make another set of 10 lines, collaboration. Nothing works without collaboration. And fourth, learning from your peers. Students will learn better from their friends than from their teachers. All this time, what will the teacher do? Facilitate, make learning happen, and see that things happen. So the teacher need not know everything. So the teacher can learn along with the kids. So the students have an involved learning session. That is why that is how that interest will come in. So you don't have to invest into this. Dilip sir, internet har jagah pahunch chuka hai. India has the cheapest internet in the world. All we need to do is get that gadget to each and every child, which again is not expensive. We are subsidizing paper to a great level. Stop subsidizing paper, throw the paper away, give them the gadget. That is something. In fact, if I were to have my ways, I would propose to the government, let's have an internet for